What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Tommy Sotomayor coming at you live, and I am still here with my girl Miss Cicely Johnson, and she was on the show the other night, and we had a discussion today, and we were talking, and I said, you gotta come back to do something else with me, and we were talking about something which I think affects a lot of us, because you gotta think about it. Black people, 70+% of all of our children are born out of wedlock. So we're not married, we're dating, we're fucking, whatever it is we're doing, but that's what we're doing.
Right.
So a lot of us are in positions to where we're having to co-parent. And what a lot of people talk about is how the co-parenting isn't working. One of the people isn't in the child's life and whatnot. So what we want to do is talk to you about what we were talking about, which was how to successfully co-parent. Now, are you in a situation right now to be co-parenting?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to be co-parenting with me? No. Your situation, how long have you been co-parenting?
I have been co-parenting for about 10 years.
Okay, so you were married. Is it okay we give a little background?
Well, you already did,
Oh.
so I guess it's okay.
I could have been lying. No, but I would say, like, you, because to say you're successfully co-parenting, we typically aren't saying that they're married, because they're not really co-parenting when they're married. We're talking about the situation where the child is,
separated couple. My son is 12 years old, and he has a great relationship with his father. I don't believe in the every other weekend, and his father has never been a weekend father. And just because our relationship kind of went sour, I thought that it was still important that he maintained a healthy relationship with his father. And so that was something that we both wanted. And I think that it's important that, especially mothers with these little boys, because our boys are growing up with a lot of gender confusion.
Yes.
I made the conscious effort because I remember getting ready for work one morning, and I'm a real prissy girly girl, and I like pink stuff. I love Betty Boop, perfume, and I'm real girly.
Uh-oh.
Everything pink and flowers in the back. I'm a girl, and so I'm getting ready in the morning, and I'm putting on my lip gloss and everything, and I'm looking at my 5-year-old son, and he's watching me get ready for work in the morning, and I'm like, I told his dad, he needs to emulate you and what you're doing in the morning. He needs to see you putting deodorant on your hairy arms, how you shave in the morning. He needs to mirror your mannerisms and not mirror my mannerisms. And I noticed it at 5. And that's when I was like, I think he needs to, because I had a roommate. It was just women in my house. And I made that conscious decision for him to be with his father more than just on the weekends, because he's a boy and he's growing. And I see now at 12 how much of a man he is now when I see him and he opens the door for me. And I'm the parent, I'm the adult, I'm driving. But if I have to hurry up and put on the brake, how he puts his arm in front of me, how he's nice. A man because he's watched his father be a man. And so at the time, I was like, oh, I didn't want to do it. I'm like, this is my baby. But he really needed that male influence in his life. And although my relationship didn't work out, I couldn't think about me and what I wanted and argue with him about all the reasons why our relationship didn't work. The thing that we had in common was the fact that we had this little boy. And if you say that you love your child, how can you keep your child away from that other parent? I just don't think that is fair. And I think black women use children as pawns, because how else can I can't upset you anymore, because there's no feelings or emotion that I have over you anymore. I don't have that control over you anymore. So the only thing I could really do to hurt you, other than try to go to court and take your own money, is to keep your children away from you. And I think that is extremely unfair, because women do it to try to hurt the man, but in the long run, you're hurting that child. And I had that forethought because I'm a paralegal and I saw so much happening in the family court system, and I was always like, I don't want that to be me.
How do you feel about the family court system? Because I talk about that, you guys know. I talk about the family court system all the time, how it's the anti-family court system.
Yeah, they're not designed to keep the family together. They're designed, I spoke about this in a video that I did a couple of weeks ago. The court system does not care about your children. They don't care that they are keeping the father out of these children's lives. White America knows that strength comes from a family unit. And when you destroy the head,
comes from a family.
Wealth.
You know, you can
wealth
be rich
and
by
strength.
yourself. You can't be wealthy by yourself.
Right. And if you destroy the head, the rest of the body is all messed up. And I had made the analogy, just talking about even our physical body. You could break your toe, you could break your knee, you could break your arm. You can have all these ailments and still function. But if you have a head injury, your chances of survival are slim to none. So it's the same way in the family structure. If the man is supposed to be the head, but if we destroy that head, and women, black women and the court system are in cahoots together trying to destroy the head of the family, and we have so many dysfunctional families because, number one, we don't respect our men. And number two, we're letting the court system, the white man, the judge, the mediator, everybody else decide the dynamic of our family. And we can't sit down and decide the dynamic of our own family. Like, we created these children. And why can't we sit down and decide how we're going to raise them, even though we are no longer in a relationship? Two adults should be able to sit down and have that conversation, and child support should never even have to come into play.
I have a saying. I want you to tell me what to think about this saying. It's not actually a saying, and people have heard it before. It's not actually a saying. It's actually what I wish would happen with the court system. If there was a simple rule, and it said, if you did not use the courts before you got the child, meaning get married, then you can't come get us to settle your differences after you have the child. Think about how that would work. Because, see, the court shouldn't be allowed to jump in at the end. When you didn't walk up and say, let's get married in front of a justice of the peace. Let's get legally married, then we had these kids.
Right.
So if we didn't have anything to do with it before you had the child, we're not going to have anything to do with it after you have it.
And I think somebody should advocate that. I think that actually should be enforced, because I actually believe if that was something that was enforced, less women would be having these children and not married to the fathers.
Yep.
Because a child is not a meal ticket. The child is not a check. The child is not your means of survival. The child needs love, affection, attention. And how can I give this child this attention when I'm constantly bickering with the father?
And have you noticed that most of the time when it's coming out of a marriage, the two at least can work on visitation and things going right that way? But when they were just dating, and chances are most of the time when black kids are born, let's be honest, by the time the kid is born, we don't even like each other no more.
Right.
Yours came out of a stable situation. Mm-hmm. Whether you guys didn't like each other or not, because the situation was stable at the beginning, you worked to have
our child was planned.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like oh my God, oops, guess what? It was like oh my God, it worked. We're having a baby. Mm-hmm. So it was a different type of situation. And so it's like, it doesn't even really matter how the child got here. The fact of the matter is that the child is here. And our interests should be whatever is in the best interest of the child. Not my feelings kind of take a back seat to making sure that this child is taken care of and provided for. And another thing that I really don't like is just because the relationship didn't work out, and you might have a lot of ill feelings towards the father. I have a problem when I hear women talk bad about their children's fathers in front of their children. And
yes.
and I have some girlfriends who are having baby daddy issues, and when they even start on that tangent, I'll tell that this is an adult conversation. I'll even tell their kids, y'all need to go so I can talk to your mom, because this is not a conversation that you want to have in front of your children. Like, I never have to tell my son anything about his dad. Children will grow up and see the real story.
If he's a bad dad, they'll grow up and say it.
They'll grow up and see it.
Have you ever heard a woman say this? I've heard several women say it. My mother said it to me. You don't have XYZ because your daddy didn't pay child support.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't that make it look like, to me, in my opinion, that you are a shitty mother? That this child, that there was a woman, and I want you to look her up. Her name is Crystalline something. She runs this thing called No Wedding, No Wound.
Yeah. I know her.
Yeah.
Her number's in my phone.
Crystalline came on my radio show.
Mm-hmm.
She hates me because she came on my radio show and I exposed something. She's married to a white
man. Yeah.
They have 3 kids.
Yeah.
But she's one by
her
black
first
guy.
daughter is by her
Do you know she
ex-boyfriend.
came on my radio show and said that her daughter couldn't take piano lessons or dance lessons because the dad had missed child support? And I said, then you have a sorry ass husband, because your husband shouldn't need anybody else's money coming in. And then I asked her, I said, does your current kids miss any dance classes? And she said, no, because their dad paid. I said, so you telling me they don't miss out on nothing, but the other one does, and you actually will sit here on national radio and say that because her dad's not paying, she doesn't get the benefits.
So, like, currently, her current husband that she's married to now will not pay for her daughter to have piano lessons or ballet lessons or tap, singing lessons or whatever that the other children are able to have.
See, what she was trying to do was sell that sad song of we can't have shit because he's not paying his child support, but it ended up making her look stupid. Because if you have a man, even if you got a boyfriend, if it's not your man, if you got a boyfriend, that man should never, ever, ever be needing the check from another man. But there are a lot of women right now who will have men who live in their houses who don't work.
Yeah.
Sit up in the house, but they will turn around and tell their baby daddy, you can't see your kid because you haven't paid child support. But the aunt will be able to see the kid and don't pay you a dime. Grandma will be able to see the kid every weekend. Don't pay you a dime. But you want to hold this man to, as you said earlier, what matters most is the time that you spent and the love that you give, not the money. Because if that's the case, we'd take all kids from broke people, wouldn't we? Mm-hmm. We'd say, you broke, you can't keep this kid.
Right.
Until you get a job, until you get some money, we're taking your kids.
Right.
But black women try to make it seem like money is the absolute most important thing. So in the role of having to successfully parent children and co-parent children, we have these issues. Have you heard a woman say that?
Yeah.
About...
Yeah.
You don't pay no money.
And you know what I also wish would be implemented? I wish there was a way I could get these things just
We
passed.
talk about it enough, girl.
I wish another thing that would be implemented is you want $800 a month for this child, you need to give an itemized invoice of what this $800 a month is going towards. Because the reason why I say this is because I see a lot of mothers who are on Section 8 and get assistance, and you're getting child support, and you have on red bottoms, your hair is done, your nails are done, you at the club every week, and you at every concert that comes to town, and your child looks like a welfare recipient, look like Feed the Hungry, Feed America commercial. And if the father is giving you X amount of money a month for your child, I believe that that money needs to go for the child. Your little boy needs a haircut. He needs to always have on some shoes that fit. He needs to always, be clean and presented well. If there's a toy or something at the store that he wants, you're getting money from his father every month to make sure that his needs are met. But you're meeting your own needs. Your eyebrows are done. Your hair is done. You're getting all this stuff done for yourself. I want an itemized list of every dime that's going into this household and what you're doing with it.
This is a good girl right here. Okay, and I try not to throw people under the bus, especially people I know. So I'm going to say this the best way I can. A person I know has a baby daddy who's an NBA player, and he just signed a new contract, big contract. And while being on my show, she was talking about something, and I did her the same way I did Crystalline. I caught you saying something. You know me, logic is my strong suit. If you're saying something, it might be pretty if I don't put the other factors in, but if I put the other factors in, I just made you like an asshole. She said, all the money he gives me goes to the child. All I do is pay rent, car note, his schooling. She kept saying all that stuff, light bills, stuff like that. And it goes to all that. And I stopped and I said, he shouldn't have to pay for your whole living. He shouldn't have to pay for your whole car. You drive that car. You would need a house whether you had a child or not.
Right.
You would need a car whether you had a child or not. You need a mode of transportation. You would have light bill in that house whether you had a child or not. He doesn't use all that light bill. So when your boyfriend coming over there, he using lights, he using water, he eating food. But you're trying to tell me that all these bills are covered under his money.
They use the child to fund their lifestyle. And I'm like, if you want your child to have this lavish lifestyle, let the child live with their father if he can afford to give them the lavish lifestyle.
Bam!
I mean, I
said
believe
that to her on the show. I said, if money is that important where you're going to keep running into the damn child support and court, because she was wanting him to pay for the lawyer that she kept hiring to run into court. She was wanting him to pay for all that. I said, well, why not just give him the child? I said, I guarantee you, he would gladly take his child.
Then she loses her leverage. What does she have to work with then if she gives him the child?
There are rare women who are honest and open. And
you know
able to
what?
That's the logical thing you just said. You said something that I've said. You and I haven't spoke about it. You didn't see that show, I don't think.
No, I haven't seen it.
And you said exactly what I said. If money is that fucking important, give it to the one with the money. And you go visit. Because let me tell you one thing the stats show. And this is one thing women don't like to talk about and the media don't like to talk about. Statistics show that children raised in single-parent households that are led by a father,
they do better.
They do better in life. They do better in school. They do better in professions.
I agree.
Because we teach our kids logic. And we don't need the woman. Mm-hmm. I don't need my daughter's mother for anything. Don't ask her for anything. You don't need to send a dime to me because I don't want your money. Be a mama and that's all you need. I'm a man though. I think I'd look stupid going up in court talking about his bitch need to give me some money. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of women who, spend more time in court. They say that they're struggling that bad, but they'll take time off of their job to keep going in court. What kind of job you got to keep letting you go to court?
She's a court reporter.
Right. And right. My case is on the docket. You said that. That's a good one. But you sit there and you think about it. And like I said, she's a friend of mine, and she's going to probably say this and be mad, but that hurt my feelings. That she was saying, hell no, I won't let my son go live with his daddy. And you said, you thought to yourself, hell yeah, my son need to spend more time with his daddy because I'm watching this. I will tell a story. I don't mind telling stories. I'm an open book. When I was 5 years old, I remember doing the same thing that your son did. You said he was 5 at the time? Mm-hmm. I was 5. I remember seeing my mom put on high heel shoes. So I went and slipped my, all children put their feet in their parents' shoes. Put my feet in them high heel shoes and run around them high heel shoes. My mama just sat and kept watching Knots Landing. To this day, you'll catch me standing out in public and I'll put my hands on my hip. Why?
You saw your mom do it. You saw your mom do it.
A lot of the actions or movements I'll do will be as of women. Why? Have you noticed that a lot of the guys that you date that didn't have a father in their life, some of their mannerisms are as a woman. Or they're hyper masculine. That pseudo masculine nowadays is what I call it. That stupid ass, I got to be a thug, overly aggressive to prove my manhood because I never had anybody to prove my manhood with. Right. When you have a father, your father punch you in the fucking chest and shit. Mm-hmm. Who punches you in the chest as a woman? I mean, and as a, let me take you out in the yard and wrestle you.
Yeah.
As men, do you know what happened? We're those caged lions that have been caged since we were little. So we grow up. And we know we can beat the trainer. We don't want to use our strength because we have this reverence for the trainer. But we start remembering that the trainer used to whoosh us all the time. Yeah. And what happens is, like Siegfried and Roy, the lion sometimes just turns back into a lion.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that a lot of times black men will beat the shit out of a woman like Chris Brown just because? Seriously, you my dog. But you know what I'm saying?
He follows you on Twitter.
Yes. But what happened was the lion came out of him.
Right.
The lion came out of me.
Yeah.
It did. But the point is, you raise us by these women. We keep taking this from our mama. Because when we turn 16, we can beat that bitch's ass at that point. We're bigger than her. We're taller than her. Your son going to be bigger than you. All that shit.
He already is.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's going to be a time when you whooping him at 14 and he like, really? But black women aren't smart enough to say, okay, by about 11, 12, I'm pushing me to put my hands on this motherfucker no more.
I haven't whooped him since like 3.
Right. And I was talking tonight about the idea of the first person who beats our ass is typically a woman. That's degrading for a man. Mm-hmm. But all black men's first, that's why we run around these niggas say, I beat a nigga ass for calling a black woman a bitch. And yet your favorite rapper is Lil Wayne. It's stupid.
But, I mean, women call themselves bitches.
Yeah, more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm a boss ass bitch.
Bitch. Right. I'm so mad that song is in my head. Oh.
That's straight Oakland right there.
I'm embarrassed. So embarrassing. But I mean, yeah, we call ourselves a bitch and then get mad if one of you calls a bitch. Just like dudes, like we call each other nigga, but then get mad if a white person call you nigga. It goes both ways. So
just like most black people.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't subscribe to it. I don't call my females friends bitches, and if they call me one, we're not friends. Like that's prelude to a fight.
Well, you have a lot of qualities that I like the way you speak. You can cuss, but then you can speak without saying one cuss word. You understand the environments that you're in, wherever it is you are, and you fit in. It reminds me of me, and I guess that might be a product of being a preacher's child. One, because we see everything. When you're a preacher's child, you see every fucking thing. You see crackheads, you see divorced couples. You literally see them all. Because when they bring them in, whether they bring them in to counsel them or whether you go to church, you literally see the spectrum. Homeless people, you see all of that. Going to soup kitchens, laughing and pointing at people and get slapped in the face. Mm-hmm. So we saw it all, but you saw something a lot of us didn't have. And I see it in you. A love for your father and a reverence for a man. Talk about how that might have been a part of what made you say, well, my son needs to have that same reverence because I have it.
Yeah, I still try to live my life in a way that would make my father proud. And my dad's been gone for 4 years. And I will find myself doing something or saying something or engaging in something. I'll be like, dang, what would my dad think if he was here? Because I was used to picking up the phone and call. I would talk to my dad sitting in traffic on my way to work. Like that was that was who I talked to. So I had a wonderful relationship with my father. So it's hard for me to hear women be like, niggas ain't shit and ain't no good men and da-da-da. They say all this stuff because I have such a good dad. So I come from a family of marriages. My parents were married. Both sets of my grandparents were married. My grandfathers took care of my grandmothers. My grandmothers didn't work. So my uncles are married. And, my brother, I have one brother. My brother is married. My older sister is married. So, that I come from that type of family where, they respect and reverence family and unity and marriage. I'm a very family oriented person. And so it's very important for me that I give my son what I had. I had a father, and that was very important to me. And I think a lot of the decisions that I made in life were because I had the influence of my father. And I made a lot of bad choices, which as human we do, but you still always fall back to that training,
Isn't that what the Bible says?
I could have wilded out. I could have easily wilded out. But at the same time, it's like I always would think, like, well, what would my dad think if I did this? What would my dad think if I did that? I always worried about my father. Not so much my mother, but I always worried about how would my father think, because I felt like however my father saw me, that's how other men would see me. So if I was out tramping around and my father saw that, I'm like, other men would see me as, and that was very important to me. It was very important to me how, not that I really cared about what people thought, but you still care about what people think. Like you don't.
If your father's ashamed of you, will probably kill you.
I would die.
My daughter cried her eyes out because I said to her, I'm disappointed and she just bawled. But I've never seen her do that with her mother.
Yeah, nah. We don't care what her mother's.
Right. She's like, you disappointed in yourself.
We don't care what her mother's. Because like you said the other night, mothers are in constant competition with their daughters. And I adored my dad so much. I had my dad wrapped around my finger. I think I manipulated a lot of situations because I was daddy's little girl.
Does that to me now.
And I got good grades, and my dad bought me Valentines, and he was a real man. My father took me to my doctor's appointments, and my dad combed my hair, and it did not take away from his masculinity at all, but he was a hands-on father. It wasn't just that my parents were married, but my father was emotionally present in my life. There's a lot of people who grew up with their fathers, but they didn't really have a relationship with their father. Like, he was just there as the provider. He just paid the bills, and he was just the masculine force in the house. But my father was who I talked to at the end of the day about school and went over my homework with me. And my dad, he was like Mr. Mom. He worked, but he was still like Mr. Mom. He was my go-to person for everything, and that he shaped the way I feel about a lot of situations, and the reason why I have high expectations if I'm dealing with somebody, because that says something about me. If I'm like, oh, niggas is gutter, that means you're messing with gutter people. What does that say about you?
Them? Why are you picking them? Because I said this. I said the woman is the CEO, the general manager, the president, the owner of her pussy. And whoever plays on that field, I gave it like a football analogy. Right. All the players and shit that get on that field, you picked them, you drafted them.
Yeah.
If they suck, they're firing the GM because the GM sucks. They're not going to keep saying the players suck. No, who picked them? Right. So why don't women today, and we're going to talk about this, and then one more thing before we get into the solutions, but why don't women today view it like you just said? Hey, it's a reflection on me if I keep saying it. Niggas, I fuck, because I tell women all the time, if your baby daddy wasn't shit, tell your next man that he died in World War I. You tell that nigga, say he died trying to save people in World Trade Center Tower #1. That nigga was hell, damn it. Tell your kids that. Why is it that? Because I've seen white women do that all the time. Their kids, they make up a story about they fucking dad. And
he died.
She was a whore
Purple
on
Heart.
Sunset. Yeah, but you make up a story, and then this boy has this thing to live up to.
Like, wow, my dad was a hero. Instead of, yo, daddy wasn't shit and you ain't gonna be shit either. I hate it when I hear stuff like that. I hate it because it's like you're planting that seed in that child, and it's so troublesome. It's so troublesome because so many things that are happening in society can be reversed if we stop it when they're lab children. It doesn't even have to get to that point, because by the time they're 15 and 16, it's too late. Yep. You've already embedded that negative seed, in that child. And I don't know, it's like a cycle, because she didn't grow up without her father. She thinks it's not a big deal for the kids to grow up without their father. Well, look how you are. It is a big deal.
Your friends, do you have some friends, or maybe not so close friends, that you can see the difference, but especially the older you got, that you can see how, like you said it, you went through your rebellious years. We all do that.
Yeah, I did.
But then you came back. Mm-hmm. Did you see some friends who not only went through their rebellious years, but literally went over the cliff, and it was because they didn't have any man? Like I said about these twerkers. Notice that most of the twerkers, they don't have no dad, so they're not worried about their dad getting online, seeing them twerk, and being completely embarrassed. Right. If they had that, have you seen where you looked at some girls and said, wow, she got a lot of potential, but she doesn't have anybody to keep her in line or make her think that this is a bad decision?
Yeah, even in my own family. I think the father influence is extremely important. I think the father influence is, and I know a lot of women will probably get upset with me about this, but I think the father influence is even more important than the mother influence, because the mother is the nurturer. But at what point do you stop nurturing and you start rearing? And I think every other creature gets it except humans. And I'll specifically black women. The mother lioness takes care of the cubs when they're babies, but they cannot survive in the wild just being coddled and nurtured and babied. Eventually, those cubs have to go out with the father and learn what the
hunt.
Right. You have to learn what it's all about.
Lioness is hunt, but go ahead.
And I use that, as an example, like even
it's a
white,
perfect example,
even
though.
like white fathers, and they take their sons fishing, and they teach them how to duck hunt, and they teach them about IRAs and CDs, and not just CDs that you put in a CD player, but certificates of deposit. Some black people don't even know what that is. But white fathers, they take their kids and they teach them investments and how to fill out a FAFSA to get into school. Like, some kids don't even know how to fill out a college application.
Think about how it is when some white kids go to college, because I saw that when I went to college, and it threw me off, and especially the older I got, I started realizing what they were doing. They had A1 credit going into college, meaning their parents would buy them their first car at 16, let them co-sign it, but the parent would pay for it. But it would teaching them that they would, if they got a school loan, they get a small loan. The parents would pay off the loan.